Longtime Trump ally Chris Christie is on a media rehabilitation tour ahead of a possible run for president in 2024, while the man he helped catapult into office is still spreading the same unhinged lies about the election, this time in an interview with Mike Lindell. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. If you've been watching CNN or MSNBC lately, it seems like there's been one person in particular who's been more ubiquitous than ever.
We've spent the past hour on Chris Christie and what it's like to be him.
Still ahead on Morning Joe, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Former Governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, will join the conversation.
When we come back, Chris Christie.
Joining us now, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Joining us now, the aforementioned Chris Christie.
We're back with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Chris Christie joins me now.
Former Republican Governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie.
I mean, at this point, Christie's on cable news so much, they're going to start putting him in a tiny box in the corner of the screen. And let's check in on our Christie cam. Oh, looks like he's arguing with a stagehand about the Jets. Let's see how this plays out. I mean, my God, he's been on cable news more often than the reverse mortgage commercials starring Tom Selleck. At least do us the courtesy of growing the mustache, Christie. Also, damn you, Selleck, and your silver tongue. I took out a reverse mortgage thinking I'd score some quick cash, and now Tom Selleck lives in my house with my wife and kids. In fact, he's doing the reverse mortgage commercials from my attic. And even worse, he's best friends with the sea captain now.
Love me some Selleck. He's my favorite of the 3 Men and a Baby. Sorry, Gutenberg.
True story. Every night I do a Q&A with the audience, and every night at least one person says, bring back the sea captain, and then the rest of the audience just starts chucking rocks at whoever said it. Meanwhile, all I can think is, where did everybody get loose rocks in New York? Anyway, cable is so desperate to fill time that CNN even aired a ludicrous special focused entirely on Christie called Being Chris Christie. Is it called that because being is the only title he has left? Governor? No, he left office with a dismal approval rating. Candidate? Oh no, he crashed and burned hard in the GOP primary. But he is still technically a being. And I'm sorry, but is there a mystery to being Chris Christie? You guys are acting like he's some weird lifestyle-having guy like everybody wants to know about. He's not Harry Styles or Banksy. He's a loudmouth from New Jersey. If you want to know what he's thinking, you don't need CNN. You just have to be within earshot, which is, for him, I think, like a mile. In fact, if this show was authentic to New Jersey, it wouldn't be called Being Chris Christie. It'd be called This Guy. The only way I'd be interested in a show called Being Chris Christie is if I could enter his head, being John Malkovich style, and make him do something embarrassing, like, I don't know, stand behind someone who hates him. Oh, right, you know, he did that. Okay, I'd make him sit alone on a closed beach. Oh, he did that too. You know what? Never mind. Now, let's just establish right off the bat that Chris Christie is without credibility when it comes to Trump. He repeatedly said he wasn't suited to be president, that he didn't have the temperament or experience for the job. Then he became one of the first prominent Republicans to endorse him in 2016. Then he stood by him throughout his presidency and even helped him prep for that first debate in 2020, where Trump yelled nonstop for 90 minutes like a caller on a sports radio show who shouts over Mike Francesa. No, Mike, you don't understand. Excuse me, Mike. It's good that the Mets let Syndergaard go. Excuse me, because Jacob deGrom is never injured. You know, it's nice when the Mets are in the news for being up so we can take a break from making fun of the Jets. But it is true, Noah Syndergaard, who was here on this show not too long ago, is now a Los Angeles Angel. And when he was here, he certainly acted like he was going to be a Met for life. But there were some signs, like when I said, hey, maybe we can get dinner when the season starts, he said, maybe? So your nickname might be Thor, but to me, you're a Loki. Anyway, Christie was so deeply invested in getting Trump elected president and keeping him in office that he helped prep him for that show debate where Trump was so insane and unhinged that the moderator had to keep shouting the word no at him like a dog who wouldn't stop humping his owner's leg.
I'll ask Joe.
Mr. President.
Which was heavily
Mr. President. Go ahead. No. Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe. You got $3.5 million.
No, Mr. President. No.
Can I be honest? It's a very important question.
Try to be honest.
He stood up.
No. The answer to the question is no.
I mean, the only way I want to hear from Christie is if he told us he was a double agent trying to destroy Trump's campaign from the inside. Yeah, I helped him prep for the debate, told him issues were for losers, and made him snort half a dozen pixie sticks. But Christie was a key part of the debate prep. In fact, according to a new book, Christie was tasked with playing Biden for a mock debate session. First of all, there's never been a worse casting choice for the role of Joe Biden than Chris Christie. Biden's a soft-talking grandpa from Delaware, and Christie's a New Jersey bully with the temperament of a seagull attacking a beach blanket in Atlantic City. It's like if they couldn't get Tom Hanks to play Sully Sullenberger and instead went with Al Pacino.
Oh, buckle up, muchacho. We are going down. We got hit by a loose goose. This is your Captain Sully. Isn't it weird? If you had a last name Sullenberger, would you name your kid Sully? It's a nickname. What's his real? Chesley.
But the reason Trump apparently blew up at Christie during that debate prep session was because Trump was obsessed with all the nonsense conspiracy theories Rudy Giuliani was pushing about Biden and his family. So Christie, playing the part of Biden, brought up Trump's own conflicts of interest to prep him for Biden's response. Rudy was being a disruptive force, one of the attendees said. No matter what we were talking about, all he wanted to do was talk about Hunter Biden. As Giuliani struggled to display a video that purportedly showed more evidence of Biden's corruption, his iPad kept freezing. Christie came to see the line of attack as a risky strategy for Trump, giving his own ethics issue. In character as Biden, he went on the attack to illustrate the point. At one point, Trump said to Christie, "I'm not going to sit here and put up with this." All right, first of all, I love that while they were trying to prepare the president for a nationally televised debate, Rudy was sitting there distracting everyone trying to get his iPad to work. My iPad keeps freezing. Rudy, that's not an iPad, that's a picture frame. That can't be right. I got it from my IT guy, Michael. Now, as you may know, not only was that debate prep a disaster just in terms of the debate itself, but on top of that, Christie and a bunch of other people in the room got COVID from it. And even then, Trump apparently had no concern whatsoever for Christie's well-being. In fact, in his new book, Christie writes that his priest arrived in the hospital and rubbed oils on his forehead in the sign of the cross, praying over him. He got a call from a hospitalized Trump who had one main concern: are you gonna say you got it from me? He's talking about COVID like Christie's RA just found a bag of weed in his sock drawer. Are you gonna say you got it from me, Chris? Because I'm already on thin ice with the dean. And yet, despite the fact that debate prep was a disaster, and he got yelled at by Trump, and that he was complicit in and actively supportive of a catastrophic and deeply corrupt presidency, that, among other things, subverted our democracy, let a deadly respiratory disease spiral wildly out of control, and created our economy, Christie said he really only had one regret about his participation.
In the last days of the Trump administration, The New Yorker published a Q&A with you with the headline, "Chris Christie has no regrets." Really?
I really don't. Look, Mike,
I don't regret prepping Donald Trump for his bait in to run for re-election.
I do not. I do not. The only regret I have about that is that the only regret I have about that is I caught COVID when I was doing it.
It's pretty great when you're trying to see if a person has a guilty conscience and their only regret is, I got sick. It's like a judge asking a drunk driver if he has anything to say before sentencing, and they yell, "Just that no one seems to care that my Camaro's all scratched up." So now Christie is trying to rehab his image as part of a book tour by casting himself as some sort of straight shooter when it comes to the 2020 election. And look, I guess at this point, any Republican who's willing to say the election wasn't stolen deserves a shred of credit, which tells you just how far the GOP has fallen. But why are we taking Chris Christie, of all people, seriously? He stood by this obviously monstrous man for years, and he still refuses to say whether he'd support Trump again in 2024.
Donald Trump has made it pretty clear he wants to run for president again. Would you support him?
Oh, look, I don't know that he's going to run.
What if he does?
I'm going to run? Well, look, what if? I've learned...
I mean, it's not as if it's a big secret that he's seriously considering it.
He's seriously considering it. Let's see what happens when he does. And let's see who he is and what he says and how he conducts himself.
Oh, yes. Let's see which Donald Trump will show up. Will it be the well-spoken and serious statesman, or will it be the one who exists? You know, the being Donald Trump. I'm sorry, you still think there's some mystery as to how Donald Trump is going to conduct himself? Having kids, I've read a lot of books about what to expect at different stages, but not one of them has said your toddler should start to understand that actions have consequences by the time they reach age 75. It's especially ludicrous to claim you don't know how Trump will conduct himself when, as we speak, he's still spreading the big lie that Christie supposedly criticizes him for. Trump just did an interview with MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, where he and Lindell competed for worst posture and rambled on about the same old election conspiracy theories. And by the way, Christie has no credibility, especially when it comes to questions about the 2020 election, because he repeatedly insisted in the run-up to the election that Trump would accept the result, even though Trump was loudly proclaiming at the time that the only way he could lose is if it was stolen.
You know this guy well. Do you believe he would follow critical conventions in the United States and have a peaceful transition of power for those months between this election result and the next inauguration.
There's no question in my mind that President Trump will participate in a peaceful transition of power if he does not win tomorrow night.
If it doesn't go the president's way, you know him pretty well, is he prepared to accept defeat?
Yes. Yeah, I think he is. I think there also is part of him that knows that not leaving the White House, putting up that kind of stink in terms of peaceful transition, just is not the way he wants to leave.
I'm sorry, you thought Trump wouldn't put up a stink? That's all he ever does, put up a stink. If he had his own line of deodorant, that would be the tagline. For the life of me, I can't understand why the media is willingly participating in the rehabilitation of a guy like Chris Christie. He was a central figure in the rise of an obviously horrendous president who left the nation in ruins. He shouldn't get a chance to launder his reputation ahead of another presidential run with reporters following him around asking him what he thinks. The only two things that should follow Christie around are support for Trump and
the stink.
This has been a closer look. God's Love We Deliver cooks and brings over 2 million meals a year to men, women, and children living with HIV, AIDS, cancer, and other serious illnesses, and they need your help. Now more than ever, if you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, get vaccinated. We love you.